This is my little office room that I have in Spain, which is crazy to say. You can see my view from right out here. It's this beautiful carob tree and it's a gorgeous day outside. It's been gorgeous this whole time I've been here. I was living in New York for the last 3 years, so it's a huge change in the best way possible. And it's something I did on purpose. I was very intentional about this, and I kind of want to share how I was able to go from New York and then all the way to Andalusia, Spain, where I'm at now. To clarify, this was not a vacation. I found an opportunity to stay in this peaceful villa in Spain through this app called Workaway. And I did have work that I had to do every day. It spanned from tasks like painting the pool like I'm doing now to rearranging rocks in the garden and painting the side of the house. But overall, I only had to do 3 hours of work a day, and then the rest of the day was mine. And for me, the most important thing was having time to write, and that is exactly what this opportunity gave me. I guess I just finally came to the realization that what I needed is time and space to be able to write. Previously, I had been working on writing my novel in any time that I could before and after hours of work, squeezing it in and pushing myself as hard as I could, and even then I could only get in about 2 hours a day at most without burning myself out. Here in Spain, I was able to wake up at 8 in the morning, write until 1 p.m. straight, and still have time to go on walks around the property, clear my head in nature, get sunshine, make my own meals, be outside, and then I usually didn't even start my work until around 5 in the afternoon since it was so hot outside. I only really worked from 5 to 8 p.m., which gave my brain a great break. Then after 8, I'd go back to writing, usually in my notebook so I could save my eyes a little bit from screen time, and then I'd start all over again the next day. My Workaway hosts were gracious enough to give me time off on the weekends, so even the 3 hours I didn't have to work then. And during these times, I could go to nearby villages, like this is Mojácar here, this beautiful Mediterranean beach town with a city up on top of a hill, with whitewashed buildings almost resembling Greece. Every narrow corner in the village offered a new surprise, with beautiful flowers, people, bookshops, and plenty of places for tapas all day long. It's a part of Andalusia, an autonomous region in southern Spain, and they have their own symbol that they display proudly across every place in the city called the Indolo, this cute little man-looking symbol that signifies peace and protection. During my days in the towns, I usually found myself writing in my journal, more reflections about the day than actually writing in my novel, but I felt that it really brought me inspiration and allowed me to write even stronger when I came back home to the desk. Then on my breaks from writing, I tried to read as many books as I could out in the sun, not trying to sacrifice my own voice in my writing, but also trying to give my brain a break, as I find I feel the most inspired when I'm able to just completely immerse myself in the other world that someone's written. Bunny by Mona Awad, I was able to finish within the first few days. I was so intrigued by the odd concept, and Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado is a book of stories that I felt so resonated with me as a female writer and female in the world, and each story touched me so deeply I kept wanting more. Runaway by Alice Munro is another book of stories that had such specific characters. Her writing seemed simple but was so stream of conscious that it felt so natural to read and really inspired me in my own writing too. The Vegetarian by Han Kang was an almost horrific, visceral story that really played on the themes of feminism and, of course, like all these books do, made me think in such a big way. To try to organize some of my thoughts, I would go on long runs out in the mountainside, sometimes walks, and just listen to the silence. Since the town I was in was so small, out on these walks I never saw a single soul and only ended up seeing a few stray dogs one time. But I felt so grounded, more than I ever had before, and I could listen to the sound of the birds, the drone of the bees and the insects, the crunch of the gravel underneath my feet, and the glaring sound of the wind that I'd never been so attuned to as when there was no other sound to distract me, and just be still in such a beautiful place. As alone as I was out here, it made me so aware of my body and my presence and who I was in this world, knowing that I traveled thousands of miles to be here and still I'm the same person that I always was. It just made me feel so sure that I did the right thing coming here. Since as much as I could push myself in New York, I could never get away from distractions like this, and being here, I could find creative inspiration in everything, even in the monotonous task of painting a wall white, which felt something like meditation for my brain. Most days I listened to playlists I made for my own book, consisting of Janis Joplin, Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix, CCR, and so many more. Since my novel plays on the themes of the 60s and 70s counterculture movement in San Francisco and how we can see it in our modern culture today, and I wanted to use the music of that time to really bring that to life, since it was the music that was able to inspire a whole generation and incite cultural change. Without sharing too much about my book, this is a background theme. Well, the two main characters in my book go on a road trip across the country. Both of them in their 20s, they grapple with thoughts of where their life's going, where it's been, and what their place really is in this world that seems so hungry to make them consume and conform. As you can probably tell, this is a very American story, so it might seem odd to be writing this in such a remote area in Spain, but I actually found that having that separation from the place was able to give me the distance I needed to understand it more. And while this may all sound quite dense, my story is, at its core, a romance novel. Okay, yes, it sounds like just another thing, but it's a love story that can help you think more about the world, and I don't know, whenever I'm reading those kind of romance books that seem too cheesy and make me cringe every few seconds, this is the kind of book that I want, a book that can focus on love, but also focus on deeper topics. And my hope is that someday I'll be able to share this book with you. By the end of the first week here, I had gotten into my routine of writing every morning from 8 to 1, and then getting back to writing by 8 o'clock at night, getting anywhere from 6 to 7 hours of straight writing every day. And as you can imagine, it was very, very productive for me, in a way that felt both exhausting and completely energizing. I'd already come here with a pretty strong idea of what my book was about and a pretty strong outline too, and by the end of the third week, I had a full draft done. In the last week there, I focused on reading completely through my book, focusing on line by line, word by word, to make sure that I was saying exactly what I meant to say. And with each walk in nature and each town I visited, I found that I had even more to say than I ever knew. My last days here and my last walk in the mountains were all very bittersweet moments, knowing that this is a place that has shaped me so much as a writer, as a person, and it's a place where the idea for my novel was formed fully. And while the work was hard sometimes, I was able to finish all the tasks that were needed of me and make some great connections with my host family too. It really is so amazing to me to think that I found all of this from a random posting on an app called Workaway online, but it's definitely something I would look into again with the right experience and the right people. I know that I'll never get an opportunity like this again to focus completely on my writing without having to worry about paying for where I stay or my food, as I only do 3 hours of work a day. But I am planning to continue to write and dedicate myself to it and give myself the time I need, because I can tell even from this short month that if I give myself time, I can create amazing things. For now, it's off to the next destination.